a body parts found in the trunk of a Tesla owned by the singer David.
According to law enforcement sources, that her body was not intact, and that it appeared that she may have been dead inside that car for an extended period of time.
We now know who the victim is in this case, and there are a lot of twists and turns.
Disturbing new footage connected to the murder of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez has just gone viral, and it's forcing the world to take a second look at rising music star David Burke, better known as D4vd. What was once written off as just another tragic case has now spiraled into a scandal that's shaking both law enforcement and the music industry. The footage doesn't just highlight the brutality of the crime. It also hints at something far more troubling: the possibility that David's connection to Celeste was much deeper and much darker than anyone realized. And while David has tried to stay silent, the internet isn't buying it. Every new revelation only adds fuel to the fire, and this latest leak has turned suspicion into outrage. It all started on September 8th, 2025, at a tow yard in Hollywood. Workers had received a sleek black Tesla just days earlier after it was hauled away from Daney Drive in the Hollywood Hills. At first, it seemed routine, another abandoned car. But within days, staff noticed something they couldn't ignore: a foul, overpowering odor seeping from the vehicle. It grew stronger by the hour until finally they called the LAPD. When officers pried open the car's the front trunk, they were hit with the stench of death. Inside was a scene that seasoned detectives described as one of the most disturbing of their careers: a severely decomposed body wrapped in a bag. The remains were in such advanced decay that investigators couldn't even determine the victim's gender at first. And then came the detail that turned this from a local tragedy into international headlines. The Tesla was officially registered to David Burke, the rising music star known worldwide as D4D. What had begun as a routine call to a tow yard had just ignited the first chapter of a scandal that would haunt the music industry and David's career forever. At first, detectives faced a grim challenge. The body found inside David's Tesla was so decomposed that they couldn't even confirm the victim's gender. For days, the LAPD and the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner stayed tight-lipped, combing through what little evidence they had. Then, on September 17th, 2025, the truth finally came out. The remains were officially identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a teenager from Lake Elsinore, California, who had been missing since April 2024. The identification hinged on chilling details. Celeste had a distinct red ink tattoo reading Eshesh on her right index finger, a mark that matched the remains. Alongside that, investigators recognized pieces of her jewelry and other physical markers. Her devastated mother also stepped forward, confirming what she already feared: the body in David's car belonged to her daughter. For over a year, Celeste's family had lived in agonizing limbo, clinging to the hope that she might come home. Instead, the confirmation turned their worst nightmare into reality and transformed a cold case into a full-blown scandal tied to one of music's most talked-about young stars. To the outside world, Celeste Rivas Hernandez was just a bright, energetic teenager with her whole life ahead of her. Born around 2010, she was described by family as curious, lively, and full of potential. Friends remembered her bubbly personality, her love of Hello Kitty, and the way she could light up a room, but behind that innocence were troubling signs that no one fully understood at the time. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Celeste's mother revealed that she had started seeing someone named David. At first, it sounded like a harmless teenage romance, but the name would later echo with chilling significance, because investigators would eventually connect it to David Anthony Burke, the rising star known as D4vd. Celeste officially went missing in April 2024 when she was just 13 years old. Despite extensive searches by police and volunteers, no solid leads surfaced, and the case went cold. For more than a year, her family lived in limbo, hoping for the best but fearing the worst. That hope came crashing down when her body was discovered inside David's abandoned Tesla. Suddenly, what seemed like a teenage mystery was revealed to be something far darker, a tragedy tied directly to one of the most promising young artists in the world. The car itself quickly became the centerpiece of the investigation. According to reports, David's Tesla hadn't just been sitting there for a few days. Witnesses claimed it had been abandoned in the Hollywood Hills as early as May 2025. That meant it could have been parked for months before tow yard workers finally opened it. And yet, no one close to David seemed to notice or care. Why hadn't the car been retrieved sooner? Who had last driven it? And most importantly, how did Celeste's body end up inside? For investigators, this detail raised two possibilities. Either David himself had abandoned the car after the crime, or someone else in his circle had access and deliberately left it to rot in one of LA's wealthiest neighborhoods. Complicating things even further, Teslas aren't just vehicles, they're computers on wheels. They log door openings, GPS history, even interior footage. Detectives immediately began pulling data from the Tesla's system, hoping the digital trail could reveal who used the car, when it was moved, and perhaps even capture footage of what really happened. The Tesla wasn't just a crime scene, it was potentially the silent witness that could blow this entire case wide open. The moment news broke that a body had been found in a Tesla registered to D4vd, the internet erupted. Mainstream outlets like ABC7, NBC, and Rolling Stone scrambled to confirm details, while social media platforms turned the story into a firestorm. On TikTok and Reddit, users began stitching together timelines, old screenshots, and supposed Discord chats. Fans who once idolized D4D suddenly accused him of being a predator, while others insisted he was being set up. Conspiracy theories spread just as fast as the facts. Some claimed the body had been deliberately placed in David's Tesla to frame him. Others argued the car's long abandonment was proof that he knew exactly what was inside. Hashtags like #DavidExposed and #JusticeForCeleste started trending, racking up millions of views. Viral photos allegedly showing D4vd and Celeste together, even matching tattoos, only added fuel to the speculation. By the time Celeste's identity was confirmed, the court of public opinion had already chosen its verdict. Guilty or not, David's reputation was collapsing in real time. One of the most striking details investigators uncovered was the tattoo link. Celeste had a small but distinctive tattoo on her right index finger, the letters Sheish in red ink. That unique marker became one of the crucial identifiers used to confirm who she was. But online communities quickly pointed out something unusual. David appeared to have the exact same tattoo. Photos circulated across TikTok and X showing both of them with matching ink, and speculation spread rapidly. To many, it didn't feel like coincidence. It looked like a shared symbol that hinted at a deeper connection. For Celeste's grieving family, the tattoo was heartbreaking confirmation of a bond they hadn't fully understood. For the public, it became one of the most viral talking points of the case, blurring the line between innocent admiration and something much more complicated. The matching tattoos quickly moved from quiet rumor to international headline. In the eyes of millions online, they weren't just pieces of ink, they were evidence of a personal connection between a rising star and a young teenager, a detail now at the center of a high-profile investigation. If the tattoo raised questions, the alleged leaked Discord chats magnified the scrutiny. Screenshots began circulating online showing conversations between David and Celeste dating back to 2022. The timing was what unsettled people most. Celeste was only 12 years old then, while David, at 17, was just beginning to carve out his path in music. The chats didn't look like simple fan interactions. Many described them as unusually personal and suggestive of a deeper bond. By 2023, when Celeste had just turned 13, the tone of the messages appeared to shift further. What had once seemed like an artist communicating with a supporter now looked to some like a blurred relationship that crossed boundaries. For investigators, the leaked chats weren't just gossip. They helped connect the dots, the tattoo link, the missing person timeline, and the eventual discovery in David's Tesla. For the public, the screenshots became a tipping point, interpreted by many as proof that this wasn't random tragedy, but a troubling connection that had been developing for years. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't only about a body found in a car, it was about whether David had been entangled with Celeste long before, in ways that raised serious questions about power, influence, and control. The moment Celeste's identity was confirmed, the ripple effects on David's career were immediate and brutal. Major brands that once celebrated him as a Gen Z icon suddenly vanished. Crocs and Hollister pulled campaigns overnight, distancing themselves from the scandal. His label, Interscope, released only a vague statement about cooperating with authorities, offering no defense, no support. In the industry, silence often speaks louder than loyalty. Then came the canceled shows. Just hours after Celeste was named, David's Seattle concert was scrapped, leaving fans outraged and confused. His upcoming Los Angeles performance at the Greek Theater, once set to be a career highlight, is now in jeopardy of becoming a career-ending moment. Streaming numbers, the very lifeblood of his fame, began to plummet. Romantic Homicide, the breakout hit that first made him famous, saw its plays drop double digits in a matter of days. In the streaming era, once your songs fall off playlists, it can be a death sentence for your career. Collaborations shelved, sponsors gone, tours collapsing. What had taken years to build unraveled in a single week. And for David, the shadow of Celeste's death now looms larger than any chart-topping success ever could. In the eyes of the internet, the trial is already over. On TikTok, X, and Reddit, hashtags like #DavidExposed and #Justice for Celeste have exploded, with millions convinced that David is both predator and killer. Viral threads dissect everything: the tattoo, the Discord chats, the abandoned Tesla, weaving together a narrative of guilt that spreads faster than any official report. But inside LAPD headquarters, the picture looks very different. Investigators are still combing through DNA samples, Tesla's onboard data, and Celeste's digital footprint. Without hard forensic proof, fingerprints, GPS trails, or authenticated messages, prosecutors have only circumstantial evidence. And in court, circumstantial evidence doesn't guarantee a conviction. This tension creates a dangerous split. Online, David's reputation is shredded beyond repair. To the masses, he's guilty no matter what. But legally, he hasn't even been charged. That gap between public judgment and legal reality leaves his career, his freedom, and the entire case teetering in uncertainty. And while investigators play catch-up, the internet has already decided. For David, that may prove even more devastating than an actual conviction. David's case isn't the first time the music industry has collided with allegations of violence. and history shows careers rarely survive unscathed. In the 2000s, legendary producer Phil Spector went from shaping the sound of the Beatles to being convicted of murder after actress Lana Clarkson was found dead in his mansion. His name, once synonymous with genius, became forever tied to violence. In Norway, Varg Vikernes, a black metal musician, brutally murdered a bandmate and burned churches to the ground. Though he served his time, his reputation never escaped the shadow of bloodshed. Even Snoop Dogg, at the height of his early fame, faced murder charges in the 1990s. Though ultimately acquitted, the trial reshaped his public image and cast a long shadow over his career. The pattern is clear. When murder allegations intersect with fame, the consequences echo far beyond the courtroom. Even if David is never formally charged, his name may remain permanently fused to Celeste's tragedy, altering how the world remembers him, not as a rising star, but as the center of one of music's darkest scandals. The shockwaves from the Tesla discovery spread through the music industry almost instantly. Within days of Celeste's identification, brands pulled their deals. Crocs, Hollister, and other youth-focused companies erased David from campaigns that once showcased him as a Gen Z icon. His tour dates crumbled overnight. Seattle, Los Angeles, and multiple stops across the U.S. were canceled, leaving thousands of fans holding useless tickets. The Greek theater show, which was meant to mark a milestone in his career, now sits in limbo, a ghost of what could have been. Streaming platforms, once the backbone of his success, are beginning to quietly distance themselves. Playlist removals and plummeting streams signal that even algorithms aren't immune to public outrage. And perhaps most telling, his label's silence. Interscope, once eager to crown him the next big star, has offered only neutral statements about cooperating with authorities. No defense, no loyalty, just silence, the kind that usually signals the industry is ready to cut ties. For David, the collapse is swift and brutal. Years of work, billions of streams, and a skyrocketing career have been reduced to rubble in a matter of days. And with the court of public opinion already against him, there may be no way back. No matter how this investigation ends, one fact remains. David's story will forever be marked by this tragedy. Celeste Rivas was only 15 years old, with her whole life ahead of her, when her remains were discovered in that Tesla. What should have been another chapter in David's meteoric rise has instead become a chilling reminder of how quickly fame can turn into infamy. Legally, the case is still in motion. Investigators are poring over DNA evidence, Tesla's onboard data, and Celeste's digital history in hopes of finding definitive answers. But while detectives move cautiously, the court of public opinion has already delivered its verdict. To millions online, David isn't just a person of interest. He's guilty, regardless of whether charges ever come. The tattoos, the leaked chats, the abandoned Tesla, each piece of evidence has been magnified under the harshest spotlight imaginable. And even if David were to walk away without a conviction, his reputation, his career, and his legacy may never recover. In the world of entertainment, perception is often more powerful than truth, and this scandal has already cemented itself into history. For Celeste's grieving family, the fight is about justice, ensuring their daughter's story is not forgotten. For fans, it's about betrayal, reconciling how someone they idolized could be linked to such darkness. And for David, it's about the inescapable shadow that will follow him for the rest of his life. But the biggest question remains unanswered. What really happened to Celeste? Until investigators reveal the full truth, speculation will dominate, theories will spread, and the line between fact and rumor will blur even further. This case isn't just about a rising star's downfall. It's about power, fame, and the devastating cost of ignoring red flags until it's too late. The world is watching, the truth will come out. If you want to stay updated as this story unfolds, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe David will face charges, or is there more to this case than we know?